The X-Men have been decimated again. Orcus has created a plan where the X-Men are banned from Earth, having been ejected from the planet, and Professor X believes that it's his fault. Kitty Pryde has become the most deadly X-Men as she tries to save the X-Men herself. Emma Frost is trying to manipulate the Hellfire Club to figure out a way to get the X-Men back, and Professor X is the last mutant alive on Krakoa and is preventing anyone from coming to gather its resources. Can the X-Men even recover from this? This is X-Men 27 and Immortal X-Men number 16. The world has changed. Kitty Pryde knows this as she slips into one of the mutant detention centers that have gone up all over the country, hoping to get a head count of the captured mutants within. Orcus is controlling the sentinels flying overhead, and a bronze statue of Henry Greenwich stands outside. Now, Kitty has taken up the role of Shadowcat once again. All mutants are X-Men. All mutants resist. She phases through one of the walls into a cell, her eyes widening in shock as she pulls down her mask, exclaiming, "You're alive!" as she sees Juggernaut. "Jiminy tap dancing cricket, Kate!" Marco shouts, but Kitty quickly and quietly hugs him. He points out the collar around his neck, telling her that it's supposed to be connected to the person in the next cell. "On it. Don't go anywhere," she whispers as she phases through the wall. That's where she's shocked to find a drugged Cyclops on the other side, strapped to a chair, his eyelids sewn shut. Kitty reaches for his collar, preparing to phase him to freedom, but she stops. She phases again, looking into his body, discovering that he is wired to explode if he is moved. Slipping back through the wall, she quickly fills Marco in. "I can't do anything to help him now. He's on a dead man's switch. He's a living trigger for some kind of a bomb." "Don't tell me we're gonna rot and you're just gonna float away from here," Marco asks her, but Kitty shakes her head, phasing him from his collar, asking him to wait. "Break out tomorrow. If you leave right away, I won't be able to continue my head count. But I'm glad to see you. Last time I laid eyes on you, you looked bad." Marco smiles, asking how many other mutants are still out there. But Kitty shakes her head, beginning to phase through the wall. "I'll tell you everything when you're out, but we're all X-Men now, Marco. Resist." Later, she joins her team in the Morlock tunnels, having brought them a captured Cerebro helmet from Orcus so that they could use it. She explains to them that they need to go to the Fantastic Four and use it to recover the memory of how Reed Richards masked the X gene before Xavier removed the knowledge from his head. "Good luck in Arizona," she tells them before disappearing. Rasputin 4, the Chimera from the alternate future, nods to her team. "Let's get on with it. I've procured an automobile," she tells them. Miss Marvel looks at her in shock. "Wait, we're driving to the Fantastic Four?" Later, the group arrives in Arizona at the farm of Ben Grimm. The Lincoln lowers to the ground, and Rasputin uses her telepathic powers to fly them all in the car. Talon leans forward from the back seat. "Let's take it slow when we're there. The Fantastic Four aren't expecting us, and we don't want to alarm them." But Rasputin ignores that, stomping forward, eager to get on with their mission and not really understanding subtlety. "If there is information to be had here, then we will have it, even if we have to hold this fantastic person down," she says over her shoulder. But that's when she runs into Ben Grimm on his way to the fishing hole. "Hey, I don't sound like that," Ben says, holding up a hand. Rasputin looks at him. "I was not addressing you. Now be on your way, Golem." Ben tries to argue, but Rasputin merely knocks him away with one punch. The rest of the X-Men rush to help Ben, but Rasputin is quickly surrounded by a ring of fire. "Matters are escalating. They need not. I am simply here for information," she says to Johnny Storm, but Johnny isn't listening, preparing for a fight. But Rasputin holds up a hand using her mental powers to put him to sleep. He drops to the ground, beginning to snore. At the house, Reed and Sue have come outside, with Sue disappearing to have a look around. Reed nods, pulling out his phone. "Phone, scan the area," he says, and the phone immediately picks up the approaching Rasputin, tagging her as a Chimera mutant. "Well, aren't you interesting?" Reed muses. And Rasputin stops in front of him, explaining that they need the information from his mind that Xavier and Magneto took away. "I'll figure it out. I don't need your help," Reed tells her with a smile, but Rasputin puts a hand on his shoulder. "You're misunderstanding. We care not if you retain it. We require it," she says sharply, but Sue is suddenly there, putting Rasputin in a bubble, ordering her to back off. I think you're misunderstanding the situation. My mind was entered without my consent. That will never happen again. But Rasputin uses her powers to phase through the force field, telling Reed and Sue that the mutants don't want conflict. Well, I don't care about hitting dames, but... Ben says as he charges her from behind, but Rasputin merely turns, knocking him away again. Finally, Kamala arrives, trying to smooth things over, explaining to the mutants that they merely need to learn how Reed once masked the X gene. And finally, Reed relents, realizing that keeping secrets is what led all the heroes into this mess in the first place. Rasputin puts on the Cerebro helmet, diving into Reed's mind, allowing him to see everything that she is doing. But inside, they discover that Xavier took the memory away from Reed instead of merely hiding it. As I suspected, but the brain can mend. It's malleable. I'll work on this. I'll find a way. The group continue to talk, and Kamala points out that Xavier once told her that the Terrigenesis Miss masked her mutant gene. Reed suddenly smiles, realizing that that is the key. That a small amount of Terrigenesis Miss can actually mask the mutant gene from the scanners. With this realized, the mutants apologize for Rasputin's actions and they leave the Fantastic Four in peace, knowing that they're going through their own trials and tribulations at this time. Meanwhile, at Orcus's orbiting space station, Dr. Stasis is sitting with Firestar over dinner. Well, I've decided what to do with the monstrous Juggernaut, Essex says, explaining that he'll be unable to reach the monster due to the gem that courses through his veins. I'm going to surgically extract it and ingest it. I hope the world is ready for a Dr. Juggernaut, Essex says with a smile as he reaches for his glass of wine. Firestar choking briefly on her food, looking away. Excuse me, went on the wrong pipe, she says while her mind races to find a way to warn Kitty. Now we move to Immortal X-Men number 16. From their base of operations, Sebastian Shaw and Selene watch Krakoa from one of Orcus's orbital satellites, trying to discover who keeps killing all of the men that they send in to start plundering Krakoa. Shaw appears at the screen, zooming in on the one lone figure that stands on the beach. Oh hell, we pushed him too far, Shaw whispers as he stares at Xavier. He turns away and leads Selene deeper into his base of operations until he comes to his vault. What is it, Shaw? Come on, Selene, you must know a treasure vault when you see one. This is where I keep my most precious belongings, he explains, opening a section to reveal his own power armor. My Hellfire armor, designed by myself, commissioned and built for when I need it, he says with a smile. Selene watches as he pulls on the armor. I still don't see why we need to send to the Stark Sentinels, she says, but Shaw shakes his head, telling her that Krakoa is his to exploit, and he doesn't want to bring Orcus any more than he needs to. He turns around as the armor is donned. Now let's kill this fallen saint so that I can get back to exploiting Krakoa for a truly grotesque amount of money. Later, Xavier looks up as death rains down from above, Shaw opening fire on the beach, but Xavier dashes away, avoiding the blasts. Meanwhile, the mutants who were stranded in the desert have arrived at an oasis, led by Mother Righteous. Egg is surrounded by the murderous bishops, calling out for help, but he is saved as Exodus swoops down, picking him up. Have faith, Brother Egg. You'll be safe, Exodus says, but a murderous Wolverine leaps at them out of the sand, growling as his claws flash. But that's when Hope is there, cutting through the monster with psychic claws. She shields Egg with her mind as the three lift off into the air. Good news, you're the last of the 5. The Eternal Life gang's back together, she says with a smile. The 3 return to the oasis where Mother Righteous leads the humans into another resurrection. Hope thanks her for all that she's done before Mother Righteous leaves the chamber. But Destiny doesn't trust her, telling the others that they shouldn't either. Enough. She is useful. She has returned the 5 to us. She has returned immortality to us. Exodus snaps at Destiny, but Irene explains that she is merely providing them with a warning. She can no longer see the future, for it is a blank spot in this place. I need to get out of wherever we are. I need to know what happened to my wife. You have no idea what it's like not knowing. But Hope and Exodus decide they have to leave again, hoping to find more mutants lost in the woods. They leave Irene in charge of those who must stay. Back at Krakoa, Xavier is still running from Shaw's attack, but he finds Selene waiting for him in the woods. She throws a blast of magic that cuts his skin and forces him back towards Shaw. Another blast hits him and Xavier finally reaches out with his mind. Emma, please, quickly! What does Shaw want? is a pause before she responds. Xavier, are we talking again? Emma asks, but finally she sends him the information, and Xavier pauses as he realizes what is happening to the Hellfire Club, and he reaches out with his mind, pushing through Shaw's psychic defense quickly. Sebastian, listen to me. I've just harvarded the passwords for a dozen key Hellfire accounts. You can use them to start to take control back. It'll be a battle, but this is enough to win. If you act now, you can recover your club, Xavier says into Shaw's mind, while Celine uses her powers to grab him with a massive wave of sand. Krakoa will still be here when you're done, Xavier continues, and Shaw pauses for a moment before turning his arsenal on Celine. Celine, look out, he got through my psi shield! He shouts as he fires rockets at her, knocking her to the ground unconscious. He then flies down to retrieve her. I'll pacify her. She just wants the gate. Shaw says, turning to Xavier. God, Xavier, I hate to think about what we've unleashed. You were always a bastard, but murderous you is something else. I think even Celine squirmed when she saw the bodies. Xavier is confused. I haven't killed anyone. In the desert, Hope and Exodus have found another lost mutant, but they're shocked to discover that this mutant is Jean Grey. But Jean isn't herself. Her eyes glow as she continues to babble nonsense about the events of the past. She's delirious. Something's wrong. We're missing something. Hope says as he reaches for Jean, but something rises out of the sand, and Exodus looks up in shock as Apocalypse rises up, attacking him. You're Satan. I am who you say I am. Apocalypse says as he slams Exodus into the ground. He then turns, throwing Exodus away. Hear that is true. We are in your desert. Apocalypse growls, and Hope doesn't understand what Apocalypse is talking about, and Exodus explains that he always thought the mutant ruler was Satan. Hope's eyes then widen. Logan as he killed me, Bishop as he hunted me, now Apocalypse, you're Satan in your desert. She whispers, and Apocalypse lifts Exodus into the air again, turning to Hope. Revelation awaits, girl. Are you ready? She reaches out for Jean, delving into her mind, but something strikes back and Hope is thrown to the ground. Hope! Exodus shouts, prepared to fight against the monstrous mutant before him. I'm okay. I know where we are. I don't know what it means. What's the white-hot room? She asks. Back in Krakoa, Xavier has returned to his beach, but now he begins to search and he discovers a cave heading down into it, where a monkey is awaiting him. The chimp turns, pointing to a mirror, and Xavier's eyes widen as he looks into the mirror, and on it is a diamond symbol and a message. Don't kill yourself, please. So the X-Men storyline was a little bit more straightforward. The Immortal X-Men's a little bit more all over the place, but these are the two that are the most important to Fall of X, so I hope you're enjoying it. Click the links down below for the rest of the story, and to be continued.